Hi, I'm attorney Rachel Cheek, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 most common reasons that claims are denied. The first reason that your claim might be denied is because you don't have a specific diagnosis. In order to claim service connection for a condition, you first have to show a condition. You have to show a disability in order to get compensation. An example would be if you've got a notation of prediabetes in your medical records. While that is something important for your doctor to know, they're going to follow up on your condition. They're going to make sure maybe it doesn't turn into full blown diabetes. The VA is not interested in that as a disability. It doesn't technically count until you have an actual diagnosis of diabetes. Similarly, say you're claiming service connection for a knee condition, but there's no diagnosis, no indication of knee problems in your medical records. That's really not going to get you anywhere. You've got to at least have some documentation, some diagnosis of a disability in order to make a claim. The second reason that claims are commonly denied is because a veteran didn't show up to their CMP examination. Now, this can be both because you simply didn't want to go to the examination. I understand that they are not something that people enjoy doing, certainly not something anyone would want to do on their free time. But there's also reasons that people may have missed the CMP exams, even though they're perfectly willing to attend. An example of that would be one of the CMP contractors contacting you to set up an examination, but they tried to schedule one 100 miles from where you live. They tried to schedule one on a date that you're going to be out of town completely. They're trying to schedule you somewhere and you don't have transportation. While you are required to attend the CMP in order to get a decision on your claim, you also are required, the VA is required to give you a chance to attend one. So if there's any issue with the examination being too far away or at an inconvenient time, speak up and let the person who's trying to schedule the examination know, hey, I'm not available then. Hey, I don't have transportation. I am willing to go to this examination. I just need it to be scheduled closer, different time, etc. Sometimes I'll see in notes where there's a notification that a veteran missed their CMP exam, but they never actually got the call or they weren't given the correct information. In those cases, you can always submit a statement and let them know. Let the VA know, hey, here's what happened, and always state that you're willing to go to an examination. It's very important. If you miss an exam, always tell the VA that you're willing to go to another one. Otherwise, they can just deny outright. And the third common reason that claims are denied is because the VA thinks you don't have enough evidence. I say the VA thinks because while you may have something in your file that completely supports your claim, they're a lot of times going to demand very specific guidelines be followed. What I mean by that is oftentimes I'll see in veterans' files that there's a letter from their doctor stating, I've seen this patient for X amount of years. I know they're diagnosed with this condition. They have told me about this event that happened in service. I believe that this disability is connected to what happened in service. And that's great. And that's usually factually correct. But the VA wants more thorough reasoning if they're going to grant based on this, like a private medical opinion. So what they're going to want to know is whether or not the doctor reviewed your relevant service records or maybe a medical etiology. It's not enough just to simply say that something might be related. The medical evidence needs to go into more detail about why exactly the conditions are related. Just make sure that when you're submitting opinions that there's a little bit more reasoning than just simply saying that the conditions are service connected. Another type of evidence that we see a lot, lay evidence, which just means non-medical evidence. It's statements, basically, buddy statements, statements from yourself, statements from your family members, service buddies. What you want to do is make sure that you have as much documentation of whatever you're claiming as possible. So if you're claiming something that happened in service that's not documented in your records, try your very best to get into contact with people who you served with, people who weren't in service with you, but you may have talked to around the time, or they may have seen you exhibit symptoms or behavior that aligns with your claim. Just really rack your brain and try to think of as many people that you can get to support your claim as possible. The more evidence that you have, the harder it is for VA to deny. The fourth reason that your claim might be denied is because your condition isn't considered service connected, which seems pretty self-explanatory. Service connection is denied, the condition is not related to service. But what I mean by that is A lot of times, veterans may have accidents or injuries that happen post service that maybe exacerbate the condition that was started in service. You might have injured your back during service and then gotten a bad car wreck in your civilian life. While that car accident might have worsened the issue that started with your back in service, it might not have necessarily caused it. However, if you don't have evidence showing that there was issues with your back prior to that accident, the VA is probably going to say that that condition was caused after service and is not related. Similarly, you may have an issue where you had a childhood health problem like scoliosis or asthma, where even if that condition resolved, doesn't have any effect on what your current disability is. If the VA can rate your current disability to that pre-service disability, they're definitely going to try and say that it pre-existed service. And the fifth reason that your claim might be denied is that your disability rating just doesn't qualify you for benefits. And what I mean by that is, even if you're service connected for a condition, a lot of conditions can be given a 0% rating. So, a 0% rating, for example, can be given for migraine headaches, it can be given for hearing loss, it can be given for mental health disabilities. There's any number of conditions that can be service connected, but be given a 0% rating, which means $0, zero compensation. It's nice that they put it on paper that you're service connected, but it's not really benefiting. So, something to consider there would, of course, be a claim for increased rating. Oftentimes, those 0% ratings are just the minimum ratings that VA assigns. They're not really looking as carefully as they should be at your record or considering symptoms that you reported. And they might just be kind of giving you a low rating just because it's easiest, gets it off their desk.